I had one elderly lady, you know, in her 80s, and she'd come here with her family, and we were stopping because of the tide at low water, and she came running down very angry, and she says, we was planning the day. How long's this been happening, this tide? And I said, well, since the moon's been in the sky. And I said, I want around then. So she said, when my father brought us as children, this tide was in all the time. I said, all right. I said, well, your father probably got in all the local papers in them days when they got off the trains and things like that, was a tide table. My name is Tony Cowell. I am the captain of Fleetwood to Knott End Ferry, the wire rows, and I've been doing it a number of years. I've been skipper since the 70s in shore fishing boats. We had 8 ships at Norfleet Fishing Company, and I worked my way up from deckhand. I first went to sea when I was 15, professionally, going to Iceland in the trawlers in 1972.
You hear Fleetwood and you think maritime. Our founder was Peter Hesketh, Sir Peter Hesketh Fleetwood, his name was, and he owned the land that Fleetwood was built upon. Peter's idea for this town was to have it as this seaside resort, but also with a working port. And it grew from there, and it really, developed into this huge fishing industry. By the turn of the century in 1900, steam vessels were around, and Fleetwood quickly became one of the top 3 ports in the entire of the UK. So it's a really magnificent storyline as the maritime history here. There was a family called the Croft family in Knott End, and they'd been running a sort of casual ferry from Knott End to Fleetwood. They wanted to have a more official service that was, providing frequent and regular access to Knott End and Fleetwood. This was really important because Fleetwood had a market here, a cattle market, so one of the main things that was transported from Knott End was animals. So, thousands and thousands of people, animals, and everything were being transported every week.
First thing we do, I come in the morning and I check the ropes and the ferry's been all right and safe during the night, because sometimes we have gales and that, so you've got to just check the offing lines and things like that, so she's secure. And then, of course, I check around the benches, and I say we've just been cleaning the benches where the seagulls have done what they usually do, so people don't have to sit in it, so we make sure that's clean. Then I go aboard, we make sure we wash down. I do all the checking of the engines and the jets, and then I fill me procedures in, making sure everything's been checked, oil, waters, and jet fluids and steering and one thing and another. And then, of course, I do the radio checks with the Coast Guard, and we start the service. Right, you be folks, may leave the vessel, be careful you step, because it's wet.
I'm Stuart. I'm the landlord of the Bourne Arms at Knott End on Sea. I lived in the village for the last 6 years. This used to be our local, and we got the chance to take it over, so we decided this is the right move for us, and we took it over to take over the Bourne Arms about a year ago now, and since then we've just been from strength to strength. The pub's been here about 175 years now. Before that it was a cottage, which was the lady owned it called May, who married a gentleman from Hackensaw and became Bourne May. And obviously the land is still owned by the May family, the Bourne family, so it's a very solid building. It's a really old building, it has character. If you love the building sounds daft, but the building loves you back, and which we do. We love the building and we're trying to keep it as it was, built 175 years ago, but with a modern twist. We have to keep up to date with all the modern standards of everything, but keep the old traditions going. Yeah, we met them skipping a lot across on the ferry. Yeah, they're really good. They do advertise Knott End and that lot for us, and they do actually say to people, like, when you get across the Bourne, it's you know, good food and that lot. So we're very happy pleased for them to say that to us. But they are helpful in other ways as well. They're really good guys. Yeah, they're really good guys.
Well, this used to be the breakwater. It used to go to the end, and it used to have a perch on it. So the Victorians built and managed the dock, put training walls in for the river, and they also put this breakwater in so the ferry could run, step in the mud, where you can see the declining repairs onto it. And of course it's not getting any better.
Obviously the ferry is very much dependent on the tides. You know, there are times when the service is unable to run if the tidal conditions aren't favourable. My name's Angela Norris. I was born and bred in Knott End, lived here all my life, and I've written a book, Fairy Tales, which is a compilation of people's stories and memories of the Fleetwood to Knott End ferry. A lot of the memories came from the Reminiscence workshops that I ran at Knott End Library. People had memories of going to school on the ferry in all kinds of weathers, because that was the thing about the ferry. Back in the 1940s, 50s, people used to travel in all kinds of weather. Then there was a saying that the ferry would run whatever the weather.
When did we start the ferry? Was it in the 59? So from that time we were going on the ferry to school, because there wasn't a high school over here.
And the ferry would get us to school no matter what the weather.
During the foggy weather, and they used to get some real pea soupers back in the 1940s and 50s, the ferry crew had an ingenious way of getting across the river in safety. So what happened was that you had a man at the Fleetwood end of the ferry with a gong, and a man at the Knott end of the ferry with a bell. And so the man would bang the gong, and the ferry skipper would wait. And then he'd wait to listen to the man at the Knott end of the ferry slip with the bell. So he'd be guided across the ferry by the bell and the gong. So it was a way of making sure he'd listen for the sounds of the bell or the gong to help him across the river.
You know, they'd have a gong at one side and a bell at the other side. The skipper would switch the engine off and be guided in by the sound. So it was a brilliant service in those days.
During wartime, the ferry was extremely well used. In 1942, over 1 million passengers used the ferry, and that was at the height of its usage. And that was because of troops coming in, movement of troops, and people like the Land Army girls coming in to work on farms in Overwire, and evacuees moving to the area. And there was one couple who met during wartime. The man was a soldier travelling on the ferry, and he met his wife-to-be, who happened to be going to Fleetwood on holiday. So lots of stories about how the ferry brought couples together.
In 1957, the Fleetwood Knott End Ferry, Wyresdale, the boiler exploded, causing the eventual death of 3 men initially. two, and then a third later died of his injuries in hospital. This is the kind of tragedy that does really shake a town like Fleetwood and Knott End as well. Yeah, in 1974, the Viking 66 Knott End Fleetwood ferry was hijacked by a man from Burnley. He wanted to go to France to visit his girlfriend. I don't know if he had any experience in skippering a vessel at all, but that was probably proven by the fact that he ran aground just at North Pier in Blackpool.
Like I say, I was a successful skipper in Fleetwood, if I can say that, and I had an accident, an engine room match came down on top of me. We was out in a storm, and the crew we'd just finished on the deck was getting the nets aboard. I went down the hatch came on top of me, the hinges broke, knocked me down, and my legs went through the ladder, and a lot of things happened. I had a hyperextension injury, and without going into details, I ended up with 4 operations and a lot of time in hospital. As traction. I was in Blackpool Vic and things like that, but I came through it, and they said I'd never go back to sea, and I've proved them wrong. I kept going onto the dock and trying to get there, you know what I mean, and in the end I ended up going back to sea on the Artemis, and ended up taking a skipper of her, so back to the sea I love, but it all changed. The restrictions, the EU, everything had changed. We met Darren, who is the contractor, the manager, the owner of Wire Marine Services, and he asked me if I'd be interested in front of my missus, and in the ferry, the new boat was just about to come, and my missus asked him would he be home every night, and he said yeah. He said he's taking it. So with that, I came to a part of the ferry, and I've been here ever since.
It's important in terms of it's part of the heritage of the town, and smaller towns like Fleetwood, we rely a lot on our heritage and where we've come from to enrich the future and the direction we're taking. My name is Shaun Garrett, often more commonly known on my social media now as Shaun Stefani. So my family came here a long time ago. We came to buy the Fleetwood Pier, and we've got several other businesses now, and I personally am the landlord of those businesses. Now, when my family first came, Fleetwood was a bustling seaside town in terms of the leisure industry, the tourism, and of course, like I say, the ports themselves. There was a lot of fish being sent out, or fishing going on. It's such a big part of this town, the fishing industry. Now, as time's gone on, that's diminished. A lot of people will blame the EU or other things, but really, there's a lot of reasons, I'm sure, that go behind it. People that use the ferry, the people that come across on it, people that want to visit and use the ferry to go across to Knott End, they are still customers of the cafe. They're still valued, they're still important to the economy and the local businesses.
Unfortunately, the ferry experienced a decline, I think, with the increasing car use in the 1960s, 1970s. So that has changed things really for the ferry. People do still rely on it today for trips to the shop. They'll go to the medical centre, they'll go to the banks or to the leisure centre. But I would say, by and large, the vast majority of users will be your visitors and your day trippers.
And how many people used to use the ferry? Like 40 to 60,000 people, you know what I mean, every year, and it keeps, you know what I mean, going a little bit further down.
If the ferry disappeared, I think it would be absolutely devastating, not only for Knott End, but for Fleetwood and indeed for the whole of the Wire. I mean, it's a really quirky, historic tourist attraction, which I think is worth an invaluable amount of money. And the idea of Knott End, or Fleetwood or Wire without its ferry, it would be a little bit like fish without chips or Morecambe without Wise. It just would not be the same.
It's one of our last strongholds. It's certainly our last ferry. It symbolises a lot, and to lose that symbol, it would be, you know, it would be a real big shame to do so.
It's a historic part. It's been going across. People have been using it. They come back to the pub and they say, oh, the last time I was there on the ferry, I was like 4 years old, 5 years old. So they all remember the ferry, and it is an important link between the other side of the water and this side. So we need to keep it going.
I imagine it would be noticed if something like that had gone, probably more than we realise in terms of monetary value and just the actual patrons that come to the cafe. I think it would have a bigger impact in the summers and the seasons when families want to come and use the ferry and have a bit of a joyride across. So I do think that it would be more significant than anyone would truly realise upon just looking at it on paper.
So it's 4:15, the last one today. Be careful with your step. At the moment, we're trying to keep it going. We've, you know, not asked for more money. We couldn't get any more money. The wages system, we've just tried to get a pay rise. You know what I mean? We're on. I won't say, you know, but we're on very low wages. You know what I mean? So it's one of them. You know, do we increase the fares? It just kill the service, and I feel like it's a duty sometimes to the community to keep it going. Local businesses will suffer, and it's a big knock-on effect for everyone then. Fleetwood still got something, you know, it's the last ferry in Lancashire.